All right, welcome everybody to the public hearing portion of the village board. The public hearing tonight is on the resolutions that were adopted, the two resolutions that were adopted at our last meeting. For this public hearing and public comment on the resolution to opt out of dispensaries or opt out of lounges. That is the only thing that we are discussing, right? We do not have, just to remind everybody, that New York State has passed laws that are already regulating where cannabis can be used outside, on streets, on sidewalks. We have no input into any of that. Our discussion tonight is to be limited on the either opting in or opting out of dispensaries and or lounges, okay? So with that, I'd like to make a motion to open new meeting. I apologize, I'm going to back up. I'd like to open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to open the public comment section and the public hearing for both resolutions for marijuana lounges and marijuana dispensaries.
Second.
Thank you, Lydia. Public comment section is open.
Well, this is going to be short.
Sir, come up to the podium, introduce yourself, state your name, your address, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less.
Sure. My name's Richard Pearson. I'm a resident of Rhinebeck. I've been a resident since 1975. I was curious about a couple things. Have you looked at projected revenue streams from taxes, and what is your percentage of that you could get for these sales? And as we talk more, I'm sure other things will come up, but I was curious about the revenue stream and what that could do for the town.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can address that. We've addressed that at other meetings also, but
Sorry.
just to bring you up to speed, the New York State is taxing all sales at 13%. The state keeps 9%. They give 4% back to the county. The county keeps 1%, gives 3% to those who are participating.
Thank you.
Right?
Clear.
Now, what is that volume?
Right.
I have no clue. Right. I can't predict that. I have heard that now that the board, New York State has officially appointed their state regulatory board, they are already starting to pass rules and regulations and all that stuff, which is still going to roll out. But I've heard there's going to be 1,000 licenses in the first round that'll be available to New York State, and it will be 7 years until there'll be another round.
Wow. I have another 30 seconds.
Well, let's ask if anybody else has a comment. Anybody else want to make a comment? Yes, Martha, come on up.
My name is Martha Gershon. I live on Lorraine Drive in the village. I want to speak to the question of revenue because we have no idea what that's going to be. And if 3% of X is, what is it? It's totally unknown. So I think it's important that everybody understand that the opt-out or opt-in is not a question of do we approve or do we not approve of the lounges or the dispensaries, but it's a question of not knowing, having no idea what the consequences, what the rules, what the money, what the costs to the village, etc., are going to be. So therefore, I support the idea of opting out, because otherwise we don't know what we're getting into. And as I think everybody knows, if we, certainly the board, but perhaps the audience as well, that opting out is not a permanent status. If it turns out 2, 5, however many years from now that it looks like it's a good thing, then we can discuss the facts. But at this point, there are no facts. So I'm in support of those, of opting out of both categories. Thank you.
You're more than. Just to, yeah, sure, come on up, but while coming up, just to remind everybody, yes, opting out does come at a, as Martha said, we can opt in at any time. In the future, I assume any time, I haven't seen any regulations that says we cannot opt back out, right? If you opt in, you can't opt out, right? And if you opt out, you have to go to some form of referendum. It's not like the board is going to say we're out and that's the final decision. The board will have to decide on whether there's a permissive referendum or a referendum to be able to opt out of either one.
Okay. Bob Barbieri, 48 Rosemary Way. I just need a clarification about opting out, and I support opting out, but a clarification of dispensaries. People are getting prescriptions for cannabis in various forms. Will they still be able to get those prescriptions filled? When we talk about dispensaries, we're not talking about CVS, I don't think.
Board can comment. My understanding is they will be a specialized store and prescriptions and or any form of distribution will be, that's allowed by the state, will be sold in that store.
In a dispensary?
Yes. Think of it as like a, yeah. They call it an analogous to a bar. You can go in and you can buy anything in a bar.
No, like a liquor store.
Liquor store, excuse me. Analogous to a liquor store, right, where you can go in and buy. And so anything that's approved by the state, you could buy in that store.
Okay.
What that is, whether it's edibles or whatever, I don't know what the commodities are.
Fine, thank you.
Yeah, good question. Michael?
You know,
No need to run.
my name's Michael Slavey, live over on Rhinebeck. I am
On
Lydia's,
Mulberry.
that's what I said, in Rhinebeck, Lydia's husband. I just wanted to clarify, I think, a question that you were getting at, which is, if we opt out, will people still be able to get medical marijuana at CVS?
We can't get medical marijuana at CVS now.
Okay,
Right.
that will help. So we have to.
Yeah, that's why I clear, it's not a CVS, sorry. Unless they get a license.
Okay.
It's my understanding, again, that you need to get a license through the state.
And even if we opt in, it's not guaranteed that Rhinebeck would, that a store in Rhinebeck would receive one of those licenses.
Because there's only 1,000
There's only,
initially.
exactly,
Okay. Some kind of priority is going to be established,
yeah,
I assume.
We don't get to choose.
yeah.
The running analogy has been to the regulation of liquor sales. So just like there's a state liquor authority, there can be a state cannabis authority. And the idea is that we can regulate the zoning of stores, store sizes, storefronts, but.
And whether or not we allow them at all.
Right, whether or not we allow them all. But when it comes to things like proximity to a school or to other things, that's going to be regulated by the state because of the nature of the product.
Eleanor?
Eleanor Popko, Village Green. Just want to clarify, would the referendum be separate for the dispensaries and then another one for the lounges?
Yes. Because we have two resolutions.
Well, one.
One election day, two different
Oh.
questions on the ballot.
Right. Unless Martina wants to do two special.
Come on, Martina.
I mean, I could, but.
I don't want to cut anybody off, so anybody who wants to speak, please. Yes,
When did these decisions get made?
come up, so that way it's picked up as well.
Sorry. When do these decisions get made? And is there a state mandate that sort of decides that we have to have this by a certain time?
The state has put December 31st as when we need to approve the resolutions. And in fact, you could vote after December 31st, after we've adopted or voted on the resolutions. The only thing we've done so far is say, here's the proposed resolutions. And this is what the public hearing is on that law.
Right.
But I think in our last meeting, the intention was that we wanted to do it this year. We have a lot on our plates to get done. This is one more thing that we want to move forward with. We think it's, I'm going to say what I think it's feasible to get it done, but the board will have to weigh in.
Plus, we've had 2.5 workshops on it, and now we're having this, so it's sort of like the issue's on the table, so let's, kind of get it done now or soon.
Have you had specific prospective business owners come and give you any sort of an idea for a proposal for business in town?
Have not.
Thank you.
I believe some other municipalities down south, some of the larger municipalities have had people make inquiries,
Right.
but we have not.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't think a license is cheap when they go to the
No,
state.
it was $200,000 at least.
Yeah,
And highly regulated.
so. Okay, I'm going to make a motion to close the public comment section.
Second?
Thank you, Lydia. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Now we're going into the public hearing session is already open, so now it's board discussion.
So I think that our best course of action is to adopt these two laws, set a referenda date so that people can then weigh in, can vote whether they want to see either dispensaries and/or lounges here in the village. And I think because at other meetings, we've heard people very impassioned on either side. And I think this is really an appropriate question that should go before the voters and the villagers of Rhinebeck. So what I see here in this is part of a process that we're going to adopt these laws, set a time and a date for a public vote on what should happen, and the people of Rhinebeck will have a chance to decide whether they want or don't want any of these establishments. I think that's probably the best course of action.
So just to clarify, you're suggesting a referendum, not a permissive referendum.
Correct, that we schedule a referendum such that people will have a chance to weigh in.
So the permissive referendum requires, what, 20%?
20%.
Yeah, so we did an informal, Vanessa did an informal online survey, and I understand some people could have voted twice, whatever, but it did take the temperature, and there were a lot more than 20% of the people that were interested in having at least dispensaries, probably not lounges. So for that reason, I agree with Rick, we should not require people to go out and stump and then just get signatures and create their referendum, that we can create a referendum for the folks to vote on the issue tonight. I mean, I don't know if it's there, is it tonight when we
Yeah.
vote? Okay.
Yeah, no, tonight's tonight.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm also in agreement. I'd like to go straight to a referendum. And as you said, Rick, just put this to the people. It is kind of a new frontier, and I feel like this community deserves to let their voice be heard.
I wholeheartedly agree. Question, actually, is it a binding referendum?
Yes, the referendum, I believe, is to adopt or reject the laws.
Okay.
Is the way it's set up.
When the vote is made, it is a vote
Right,
on the resolution, which then become law.
right. So if they accept or reject, then the law is either accepted or rejected.
Correct.
Correct.
Cool. Thank you.
And I guess that's one thing we need to work on people's understanding, because our laws are to opt out. So a vote against the law is a vote for,
opt in.
permit to opt in. So we'll have to work on the wording to make sure that people understand that what's happening here.
On the ballot.
On the ballot, it can be a little bit confusing. But again, the idea is that because we've opted out, if you approve of the law, then you'd want to keep the law. But if you'd like to see dispensaries or lounges, then you would vote to overturn the law.
Right.
It's like a double negative,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, no, we're
They
gonna have to
did
make
make it
sure.
easy.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have to make sure we word it properly.
Creating this ballot will be fun.
Intentional. So you're not
just
going to get any disagreement from me as
Yeah.
well. I
Okay.
believe, and as I stated at the last meeting, I believe it is the public choice, right? And we want to hear from the public.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have our own personal opinions on this, but we are 5 people in the village of Rhinebeck, and this is going to impact every single person in the village of Rhinebeck, so.
So even though you voted us in to enact laws, we want to hear from you.
Yeah. There's some things that
Everybody listening right now, we want to hear from you.
Yes,
And you,
By
and you,
voting.
and you.
by voting.
Voting.
I mean, there are some things that I feel like I can represent the village on, which is part of my job, and this one is not one of them, so.
All right, so it looks like we're in agreement to go for a referendum.
Yeah,
I know Martina, our village clerk, Martina has the sole responsibility of conducting that vote. So I know, Martina, you've given this a great deal of thought, and we would
Sure have.
like to hear from you.
So I put together a little timeline, partly working off of the,
Make sure the microphone is focused.
partly working off the calendar of dates for the regular election that'll be in March. Certain things have certain dates that you have to do them by. Some of them are not going to be feasible, being that publishing the notice, for example, they recommend that 4 months out. We don't have that kind of time. Same goes for accepting absentee ballot applications, that's 4 months. Appointing inspectors is 40 days prior, and drafting the ballot. So with that, I'd prefer as much time as I could have to get those, because I don't have 4 months, so ideally a little bit later.
can you remind us what the state requires for this particular vote?
So
It's 30 to 60 days.
no sooner than 30.
And no
And no
later.
later than 60 days.
Right.
No less than 10 days, no greater than 60 days.
Oh, it's 30.
No less than 10, no greater
Oh,
than 60
okay.
from when you adopted the resolutions.
Okay, all right.
Yes,
Then that would, 10 days wouldn't even allow you to get absentees out.
that's why I freaked out in the beginning. So with that, there are a few things that we do still have time to do. I have to be able to notify people that they can register to vote at least 10 days prior. I have to publish the hours in the polling place at least 10 days prior. Getting the Board of Elections list of voters 7 days prior. But a couple things that are kind of up in the air is ordering the absentee ballot supplies. I don't know what the turnaround time for that would be, ordering poll books, and then, of course, again, preparing the ballot. So I was looking at November 16th, Tuesday. I think that would give me enough time to get all of these things done and give an adequate amount of notice.
Do we have to do it on a Tuesday?
We do not.
I feel like Tuesdays people associate with voting.
With voting.
so
And
that would-
that's why I
Yeah,
wanted that. The week after is Thanksgiving.
right.
2 weeks prior is the election for the town. We have some other things going on surrounding that time period, so Tuesday, the 16th, seemed like a more appropriate day.
Okay.
I know that for the last elections, for the COVID regulations, you could have no excuse absentee voting. Do you know if that's still in effect?
That is still in effect.
Okay.
It is.
So people
They're
who
actually,
can't be here can.
side note, they're looking towards getting rid of a reason to have an absentee vote in general.
Okay, so no
NICOM told me
excuse.
that.
No excuse, okay.
That's nice.
So that is that
But
people
as
who are
of
not
right
around-
now, COVID would still be a reason to vote absentee.
Fear of COVID.
Yes, risk of,
Risk of COVID.
yes.
Right.
Crazy idea. What if we did it the same day as voting that's happening in town hall? Vote over there for town?
You could, that cuts my timeline by 2 weeks.
And
And then also, it
Too
might
soon.
confuse people going to vote specifically for that as opposed to coming to vote for this.
I've asked several people that question.
Yeah.
And the unanimous response was no. It was creates, there's already confusion in terms of where are they going for
Yeah.
what building they need to go to.
It's not ideal.
Yeah, great suggestion. The minimum, the little response that I told people was, don't confuse it.
Okay.
Good question.
And I guess the other question I have is, to what degree does the board feel like we have to disseminate any more or additional information? Do we want to put up any documents, any information? I mean, we're not taking a position on the referendum, so, and we've had, this will be our third discussion, fourth
discussion.
discussion. So the question is, what kind of information, if any, do we want to put out there?
The less, the better in terms of that, just kind of being straight and to the point as far as the ballot goes. Trying to work that wording so that it's not confusing to people, but not giving any type of
Yeah.
lean.
Okay, I mean, just to get people to understand the process.
Our job is to,
I'd keep it like I keep
Inform
any other
and-
election and give just the necessary information.
Okay.
I mean, we have on the website the marijuana legalization under initiatives and committees, which I think is, a highly appropriate, informative webpage. In case you didn't know, we have a webpage on our website for this.
Good one.
And, I think just being clear about what the question is asking. To be clear, this is all given to us by the state. We didn't make this complicated, by choice. So, yeah, I think we just provide information, but as to the process, but not as to, anything else, really.
Is there a place where people are going online and discussing this and getting answers from the state? Is the state having any sort of process like this where there's discussion for it?
I don't know.
I haven't seen anything, but.
I've not seen one either.
So,
There is an area in the state statute that governs this type of non-permissive referendum.
I mean, they released an article about it that was publicized.
so just to return, so Lydia, so people can follow up, you're under initiatives and committees, it's sale on public consumption, and then under that, there's a memo actually that the mayor and I produced that basically lays out what the state has done and what the considerations. That's the kind of information that I was talking
But
about.
it's not updated, like, for instance,
Yeah.
the control board has now been formed, all the
Right.
members are appointed, and all the stuff that we didn't know a month ago
Right.
has moved forward and happened,
Right.
and regulations and things are happening at the state level, but it's, I don't think it's our job to bring that
Okay.
No.
information.
I mean, what we might do is just provide a link to whatever informational page there is on the state, but, you know, if there isn't one, then I think we can bow out of that particular conversation.
Are we going to ask our attorneys? or-
Eleanor, we closed the public comment section, sorry.
Are we going to ask our attorney to write the ballot, to write the,
I-
I mean, that hasn't been done.
Either
yet.
that,
Well,
no,
obviously it hasn't.
it hasn't been done.
Yeah.
And either somebody can draft it, but I think our attorney should review it for no matter whatever, yes.
I will have them review it.
Or write it and read.
I have to prepare it.
Oh, okay.
I have to send it to them for review.
Oh, there you go. There's the process. Good for you.
So this is really going to be in people's hands.
Yeah. All right, I think we're at a juncture here, no use belaboring the discussion unless somebody else the board has something else to say.
Nope.
All right. The
Motion to close the public hearing.
The motion, oh, yes. Well, in order, do I vote on it after or before?
I think you closed.
Close the public hearing and then we
Close the
vote.
hearing and then.
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to hold the referendum on the marijuana legislation for November
16th, Tuesday,
16th at
noon to 9 PM,
noon to 9 PM. Here at Village Hall,
upstairs.
upstairs, in this room. Okay? So,
Good thing the planning board has gone remote.
all right.
So,
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do we need to adopt the
Thank you, Rick.
resolutions?
I do that so she couldn't catch it.
Okay.
You know. All right. Any other discussion?
Do we need to adopt the resolutions too?
We have, as a result of the going to a referendum, by default, we've adopted the resolutions.
Ah, okay, you don't have to adopt and then give a resolution, and then do the vote. No.
We can make it official if you would like.
Yeah.
All right.
We adopted them.
But we have something on the table, we have the timing on the
Right, we
table.
closed, but we've already voted on adopting resolutions. Now we've voted on adopting, moving forward for the referendum. They don't become law until after the vote. So we're not voting on these resolutions.
Those were already adopted last
Yeah.
meeting.
Don't we have to pass the opt-out law?
Yeah, I would think so, we'd have to pass, we'd have to pass our resolutions.
Yeah.
And then we'd say have a vote on the
Okay.
past resolution. That would make sense to me.
That makes
think
sense
so.
to me. That makes sense to me. All right, I'd like to make a motion to accept the resolutions for,
Do we usually?
yeah, that were introduced to the Village Board of Trustees on September 28th, and a public hearing held on October 12th at 7 PM at Village Hall, where the Board of Trustees has adopted resolution number whatever that will be assigned. Dutchess County hereby opts out of allowing on-site cannabis consumption establishments from locating and operating within the boundaries of the Village of Rhinebeck.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I would also like to make a motion to accept resolution number, fine, whereas the local law was introduced to the Board of Trustees on the Village of Rhinebeck on September 28, 2021. Public hearing was held today, October 12th, 2021 at 7 PM here at Village Hall. And the resolution is the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rhinebeck, County of Dutchess hereby opts out of allowing retail cannabis dispensaries from locating and operating within the boundaries of Village of Rhinebeck.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to set the referendum date for November 16th, right?
Yep.
Yes.
16th from noon to 9 here at Village Hall for voting on these resolutions. Do I
Second.
have a second? Thank you, Rick. All in favor, say aye. Aye. So passed.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Oh goodness, hold on.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.